Beautiful lush parkland on the banks of the River Orwell in Suffolk, unchanged in over 150 years, where a herd of deer still roam in the nearby woods. This was the country home of Colonel George Tomline, landowner and man of great wealth. He built this house and lived here alone, pursuing his favorite hobby of astronomy. So keen was he that he had this substantial observatory designed and built to very high standards on the end of the hall, which contains one of the largest telescopes in captivity. The building now houses a private boys' school, so I talked to the headmaster, Mr. Brian Bell, and asked him when the observatory was built.
Well, the building itself has been here for many years. The observatory itself was put in about 1875.
What sort of man was Tomline?
Well, I have a picture of him. He was one of the landed gentry. He had many interests, wide interests. He built the railway, for instance, from Ipswich to Felixstowe. And one of his main hobbies was obviously astronomy. And he built this telescope, scientifically built, and he had, in fact, his own astronomer to do all the scientific research for him.
How high is the observatory itself?
Oh, it's about 85 feet, built on a massive, solid concrete pillar. You can see the shape of the building, and this pillar goes down, I should say, about 50 or 60 feet into the ground, as well as the 80 feet up to the telescope.
Remarkable. Well, could we go inside and have a look at the instrument?
Yes, do.
Fine.
It's most interesting.
What an incredible machine. It's magnificent. Can you start by telling us what all these controls are for?
I wouldn't like to tell you what they're all for. You have a sighting telescope here to get your object in the center of the telescope. You have the focusing apparatus here. This is the main focusing with a fine adjustment. The screw here. This, of course, is after you've put in your suitable lens up to 600 magnification. All these other knobs, and as an amateur, I don't think I would like to go into
For the general sort of control of the thing anyway. Well, we'll leave it at that. How does the dome operate? Is it automatic?
Oh, no. No, one man, though, can operate it quite easily.
It's still fairly hard work, huh?
Yes, and then you get the flap pointing in the right direction, and by pulling on the ropes, you open the flap, and you can then look through the telescope at your object in the sky.
Now, what about the casting? It's about the biggest casting I've ever seen. It's a magnificent thing. How much does this weigh, do you know?
Well, many tons, I should imagine. We've never actually weighed it, of course.
One wonders how on earth it would, it was brought up here in the beginning.
Well, they must have had a very clever series of scaffolding and cranes. And you see, this is bolted into that pedestal that I was telling you about, that goes right the way down through the building, solid into the ground, so there's no chance of the telescope wavering.
Now, what about the mechanism to drive it? Because I gather there's a little gubbins around there which keeps it tracking, is that right?
Yes. Well, you can imagine when you have high-powered magnification, your object goes across the lens very quickly. And so, with the clockwork mechanism tied up through cogs to the telescope, this keeps the telescope revolving in time with the rotation of the Earth. And so you haven't got to keep on pushing your telescope to keep the object in view.
Yes. Now, what would have been the cost of this when it was put in?
Well, we have the old bills. The telescope itself was something over £1,300. That is just the telescope.
Yes.
The object glass, which was made in Germany, of course, was over 300. I think it was £333 6 1/8 was the bill for it.
And what about the observatory itself, I mean the building?
Oh, the building, well, it's not anybody's guess, I think.
Because the pointing on the brickwork has got to be seen.
Yes, it's beautifully made.
Now, what's going to happen to this? Is it going to be sort of left just to unused and...
Oh, no. I mean, we use it ourselves, of course, but there is a local society which is being formed, and they hope to put the whole thing back into its original shape.
Let's hope restoration can be undertaken, for it would be a pity to leave such a unique instrument unused.